Hello students, I'm teacher Dai Yue. Welcome to my online course, Motion Graphic. In the previous lecture, we explored the literal meaning and functional aspects of motion graphics. I emphasized that the term motion graphics shouldn't be simply understood as motion graphics on a surface level. Rather, it should be viewed as informational videos with motion effects from a practical perspective. We can leverage the advantages of motion graphics to effortlessly convey messages using movie graphic elements to explain viewpoints or concepts so that viewers can easily understand the information we try to convey. In this lecture, I'll discuss how to differentiate between motion graphics, animation, and visual effects. Understanding these differences will help us grasp the characteristics of motion graphics accurately, which can enable a better narration and information conveyance. Distinguishing motion graphics from traditional animation. Despite motion graphics being based on animation techniques and ultimately presenting motion images, it differs significantly from traditional animation. Traditional animation films, also known as character animations, CM animations, or character movies, focuses on storytelling using characters. They follow traditional mortgage methods to capitalize ideas. In this sense, traditional animation shows no fundamental differences with novels, films, and television. It just uses a different medium. Traditional animation emphasizes narrative expression with rigorous storytelling logic, progressing the audience emotionally through story development. While watching animations, we might find ourselves bursting into laughter by Lang Ming, who loses his eyesight at the beginning in The Winged Guardian. Captivated by the fantastical plot of The Blood of Youth, or awestruck by the magnificent Chinese painting style in Be With You. For a moment, we believe that everything we see is real. We almost forget that all of these are creations, and we are immersed in the situations of the stories and characters. In contrast, graphic animation downplays narrative structure and the montage assembly techniques, focusing more on transitions and changes between visuals. It attempts to visualize and convey information, data, and viewpoints through motion design. Overall, animation is about storytelling, and motion graphics is about conveying information. So, how do we differentiate between them? Let's explore this question by watching two clips and reflecting on the differences between motion graphics and traditional animation.
文化兴则国兴，非物质文化遗产汇聚着中国传统文化的智慧结晶。洋剧是江苏省扬州市的地方传统戏剧。洋剧从清代乾隆年间就已有雏形，人们称之为扬州乱弹，说的是扬州方言，唱的是扬州小曲，后与民间的香火、花鼓相结合。而后100-200年，为了在激烈的艺术竞争中取得一席之位，于1931年在上海聚宝楼共同演出《十美图》，从此之后称之为维扬戏，并大量吸收扬州清曲的曲调，在新中国成立后逐渐演变为洋剧。其发展历程曲折，也促使了其剧目丰富多样，如打花鼓、桃花女、百岁挂帅等众多经典剧目。百岁挂帅原名12寡妇征西，经过层层修改，突出爱国精神和乐观精神，悲中见壮。故事情节发生在宋仁宗时，西夏进犯三关，主帅杨宗保中箭身亡，边关军情紧急，焦孟二将持金办丧求援。佘太君闻此凶讯，以国家安危为重，亲自挂帅，率领一门女将及曾孙杨文广出师，一举歼敌，凯旋回朝。于1959年应邀参加建国10周年献礼演出，演出一举成功，成就经典之作。其寿堂、灵堂吊唁、母子比武片段突破传统剧情，矛盾冲突强烈，悲喜交加，跌宕起伏。数月后，京剧四团的《杨门女将》改编于此。2006年5月20日， 被列为第一批国家非物质文化遗产名录。
Have you noticed the distinctions between motion graphics and animation? Let's break it down. In terms of purpose, animated works tend to provide the audience with more emotional value, offering a pleasurable viewing experience to some extent. On the other hand, motion graphics, while designed with some attraction and entertainment, preliminarily aim to convey information. In terms of content, traditional animation places more emphasis on narrative expression with rigorous storytelling logic. It progresses the audience emotionally through the development of the story, involving characters and dramatic conflicts. In contrast, graphic animation generally lacks characters, and the entire video doesn't evoke strong emotional changes in the audience. Motion graphics lean more towards visual design and information conveyance rather than emotional connections. In terms of form, traditional animation is heavily influenced by the principles of illustration, while motion graphics is more influenced by the rules of graphic design. Distinction between motion graphics and visual effects. We now learn that motion graphics, unlike animation, is not driven by emotional involvement, but mainly conveys visual information. However, this introduces another comparison: motion graphics versus visual effects. Visual effects, or VFX, describe the creation, manipulation, or enhancement of images used in film or other mobile media that cannot occur during real-life filming. These elements are composited in some form into video or film, presenting new elements in a certain way. The viewers accept as part of the entire movie. Visual effects can include static images like horses or logos, motion objects like characters or vehicles, or even fictional elements like robots or dinosaurs. The primary goal is realism. Visual effects animators use different elements to create scenes that viewers believe to be shot in real world. The key difference lies in the fact that the primary purpose of motion graphics is not to create a believable feeling, but rather to convey visual information. Do you still remember this? We talked about in the previous section. The elements of motion graphics may be composited into a continuous film, but they always remain independent and do not completely integrate into the film to achieve a seamlessly realistic effect. For example, motion graphic elements are designed, overlaid in certain segments to explain the filmed content to provide context. These new graphic elements are added to the film, relying on motion tracking technology to follow certain content in the film. When the film's camera moves, these motion graphics also move accordingly. However, they always remain separate from the film, and viewers accept them as additional or overlaid elements, not considering them as material shot during the film. Motion graphics and visual effects share some technical similarities. Both motion graphic designers and visual effects designers frequently use a common technology: particle generators. Particle generators emit particle effects from a central point, simulating real-world effects. Using particle generators, various effects can be created, such as fireworks, liquids, dust, fog, or explosive sparks. In the world of visual effects, particle generators are often used to create effects that would be difficult to dangerous to capture during real filming. In the field of motion graphics, particle generators are typically used to shape the form itself and as visual decoration. When producing animation, motion graphics and visual effects also have overlapping aspects, making it challenging to completely distinguish between the two. However, as mentioned earlier, to differentiate between motion graphics and visual effects, firstly, observe whether the effect is an indispensable part of the film. Secondly, check if the effects in the film are difficult to distinguish from the real world. If so, it belongs to visual effects. If the effects exist independently in a highly graphical manner, then, in such cases, they can be attributed to motion graphics. Summary. Alright students, let's take a moment to review the content of this lesson. In this lesson, we have learned how to differentiate between motion graphics, animation, and visual effects. Animation emphasizes narrative expression, often involving characters and dramatic conflicts, evoking emotional resonance in the audience. Visual effects are used to fill in content that cannot be filmed, achieved through simulating visual effects. Motion graphics are primarily for better conveying visual information. This concludes the content for this session. See you in the next section.